In this video, I'm going to give you the 5 big changes that you need to know about since the second big FAQ from Games Workshop arrived in 2018. Okay, first of all, I just want to apologize for the poor audio quality. I wanted to get this out as soon as possible to make sure that you knew all about the big FAQ changes. And as such, I'm currently at an airport recording this on my phone, but I thought it was more important to get this out to you as soon as possible so you had the information broken down in the fastest way possible, rather than waiting until I finished my trip and actually managed to get somewhere where I could set up a video camera. So first of all, complete disclosure, I wasn't the one that went through and compiled this. It was actually done by Nick Nanavati, who, if you don't know, is one of the world's leading experts at Warhammer 40,000 and our resident pro expert here at Knights at the Game Table. So I'm going to be going through his notes and sharing them with you. What I want to do is I want to give you the 5 big changes to Warhammer 40,000 that have come out this year. First of all, and again, you know, just to be very clear with you, I'm paraphrasing some of these. If you want to see the full FAQ, it's available on Games Workshop's Warhammer Community site right now. But here's a breakdown on some of the impact that it's going to have. First of all, the fly keyword now only works in the movement phase, or the fly movement. It's a very subtle change, but it has a huge impact on competitive level 40k, because before, flying units during the charge phase could ignore other models, they could ignore terrain, but now they can only do that in the movement phase. So bigger things like Magnus, Mortarion, or Hive Tyrants with Wings, Demon Princes, when they're in the charge phase, they're going to have to actually go around walls and impeding terrain because they're not infantry. So whereas infantry with the fly keyword obviously can still move through walls, because that's something that infantry can do, these larger models that don't count as infantry are no longer able to. It makes charging a lot more difficult. And of course, in the assault phase, they can't move over models. So, you know, the models with the larger bases are going to have a much harder time navigating in those tiny little positioning. And the other big change for fly is that you're going to have to measure true distance for flying units when you charge things. So that's a huge impact on all the flying units across the board in the game. The second one is a new universal stratagem called Prepared Positions. This, for 2 command points, and it's only available to the second player, so the player that doesn't get the first turn can spend 2 command points and give their entire army a cover save as long as they're in their deployment zone. So it doesn't apply to Titanic units or anyone that's like, you know, a scouting rule to be able to set up outside the deployment zone, but all of your non-Titanic units inside your deployment zone spend 2 command points and they all get cover. That's a huge benefit for going second, because of course, you know, going first in Warhammer 40,000 is a big advantage, and now they've done something that's going to really, you know, give some support for the player that goes second. And this was huge because infantry heavy armies like orcs or horde armies that couldn't fit their entire army into cover on that first turn of the game to receive the blow can now get the benefit of cover, really helping them survive against an initial onslaught. And of course, non-infantry units like vehicles, bikes, and monsters can also get the benefit of cover, which is a massive benefit for them as well. The 3 big changes that's going to impact you is command point regeneration has now been weakened. No matter how many different ways you can regenerate command points, you can only ever get 1 command point per battle round. It's not per turn, per battle round. You know, and that's because a lot of armies did have the ability to, it just seemed like they were constantly getting command points back, but now the most you can get back is 1 command point per battle round. And so, you know, it's a huge impact on the way that the game's going to go, and the armies that can't regenerate command points as easily now have a chance to shine, and you're going to see less of the Imperial Guard armies bringing in the command point farm to make sure they can power up their things. Now they might just take a battalion unit just because they want the initial command points, not necessarily to regenerate it. And also some units like the Castellan Titan and the Blood Angels, Smash Captains that people were using were super popular competitively, and used you know, that command point regeneration from the Imperial Guard to make them super effective, and so now they may not be as useful, and so we may not see them be utilized as much in games. The 4th big impact is the Infiltrate rule, used to allow certain units like, certain detachments like the Alpha Legion, Raven Guard, what have you, to set up in forward operatives, which would allow them to set up in the middle of the board. And with the change to Deep Strike, that was massive, because Deep Strike was nerfed in a beta test to stop you being able to set up in the middle of the board and only in your own deployment zone, but these units could get around that. Well, now it's been changed, and now they get a 9-inch movement at the start of the game instead. So, you know, your Raven Guard, your Alpha Legion, Elder Rangers, anything that's got that kind of role now just gets a 9-inch movement at the start of the game, which, you know, obviously really impacts their abilities to get in range at the very beginning of the game to use some of their special abilities. So that's a massive change there for the Infiltrate. And lastly, Deep Strike. I think a lot of people felt that the ban on Deep Strike was a little bit too strong, the fact that you could only set up in your own deployment zone. Now it looks like Games Workshop's doubled down on it. You can now no longer arrive from Deep Strike in the first turn, no matter what. And so that's really going to impact people that were keeping things in reserve and then bringing them in the first turn to make sure they didn't get shot first. They're now not going to be able to alpha strike on that first turn of the game. And then a subtle change that was made on this is that the Deep Strike rule used to be that 50% of your army must be on the board calculated in power level, but now that's been changed to be based on points. So some of the units like Deathwatch Veterans, for example, which obviously I care about, had a really high power level cost, so it's actually made it a little bit easier for those kind of armies. So they're all the really big ones. There are a lot of other smaller changes that are worth looking into as well. The Agents of Vect stratagem became boosted up to 4 command points, and because they can't really regenerate command points that easily now, that's going to really reduce the effect of that being used. And also, you have to have Cabal of the Blackheart units on the board. So if somebody takes out your Cabal units, then you can no longer use that stratagem. And that was something that people were doing. You know, they were taking one unit and then abusing that stratagem. So that's not really a thing they can do anymore. So, you know, that should make a bit of an impact on the way that's used. And they've increased the costs of Knight stratagems almost across the board. Their main 3 stratagems, Order of Companions, Oathbreaker, and Our Darkest Hour, all now cost 3 command points instead of 2. And of course, with the reduction in your ability to get back command points and regenerate them, really is going to impact Knights on the battlefield. And also, Genestealer Cult, worth mentioning, they have to deal with the same reserve rules as everyone else, so they can't come in turn 1 anymore. However, Games Workshop have announced that when the Genestealer Codex book comes out, that's going to be taken into you know, consideration. So there you have it, guys. It's going to make a big impact on the game. Nick believes that what's going to happen is the game's going to slow down a lot. Not that it's going to take longer to play, but the game won't be over in the first couple of turns. It's going to go through into the later turns of the game. And because Infiltration has been reduced to just a pre-game move and you can't Deep Strike turn 1 at all, and you've got prepared positions to fight back, it's going to really solidify that early part of the game, make it a lot harder to kill things, making the back end of the game you know, being a little bit more important. Nick feels that what that means is that the game's going to go back into a little bit more of a back and forth battle with a little bit more swing in it, so it's a bit harder to predict who's going to go, as opposed to whoever goes first has the best opportunity. Nick also goes on, he believes that from a meta perspective, he thinks the Elder and Tau probably end up the best out there. Elder only took the 1 real nerf, and the fly keyword not working the assault phase is really it. So the Shining Spears is kind of like the key to Elder, and they're going to feel a little bit of pain from that, but other than that, the Elder shouldn't be too affected. And Tau love prepared positions. Giving that bonus cover to their vehicles on turn 1 is absolutely huge, and of course to their drones is really strong. And because Alpha Legion can no longer infiltrate on top of them, and because of that a little bit of extra durability, we may actually see Tau finding a place in the new meta. So Nick is going to go on and do even more of a breakdown. If you're interested in that, you can join our Facebook group, which is Game Talk for Gamers. It's a closed group. If you request access, we'll let you in. And he's going to do a live stream today where he goes into the tournament tactics from this in complete detail. Other than that, this is a huge, huge change. There's some big changes to the way the game's played, and they did mention there's going to be some points changes, although they're not happening yet, and they're going to happen in the new chapter approved, which should be coming out sometime around Christmas. So thanks ever so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do, so you stay up to date with all of our videos, all of our lore videos, and of course all the battle reports that we have coming out every single week. Thanks ever so much, guys, and see you next time.